everyone. Good Tuesday morning to you. Thank you so much for joining me here. I'm WSAZ's Kimberly Keagy, and thanks for joining us here on WSAZ Plus. So today we have a couple of things coming up throughout the afternoon. Of course, Tuesday does mark the first day of Kentucky lawmakers heading back to work. It is now the first day of the 60-day session, which of course we know sets the pace for really the entire winter into springtime when you're thinking about this. And so this year in particular, it's a little bit unique, and I wanted to break that down for you, give you some perspective as to why things may look a little different than they did in years past. And so we're going to go ahead and pull up some video here, and so we can all talk about it. Of course, you know, today is the first day of the legislative session. 60 days, lawmakers will be in Frankfort working. Of course, we're expecting a lot of different issues, but let's go ahead and just address the elephant in the room here. Things look a little bit different. And so this is something, of course, that we're going to see throughout the entire session. Lawmakers are not actually working in the state capitol this year. They are moving to a different building. This is a building near the Annex Center. And so it does look a little bit different when you're thinking about that. And so, you know, the reason why? Well, lawmakers said we needed to do some renovations. And so this is really the first of it that we're going to start to see. And so this $300 multi-million-dollar year project, when we're thinking about how long this is, we likely won't see a regular session back in the Capitol until about maybe 2029 or so. So that is certainly going to take a little bit of time for them as they are working through that. Again, expected to take about 3 to 5 years. Something different, though, this year is there will be no gallery in the new building. And so you may be wondering, well, how can I watch the session? How can I still be informed, find out what's happening in our communities? And of course, they are still going to do like they have done in past years, where they have the mounted cameras in the room. So we can all still hear and listen to it. It just will not be as busy, as loud as we've started to see in the past. Obviously, you know, when that 60-day session mark, there's a lot of rallies in the rotunda, many community groups, advocate, lobbyists we tend to see. And so it's going to be a little bit of a scaled back session this year, but I don't think it's going to be scaled back on the issues. We're, of course, got a big thing that's coming up. It's a budget year for us. And so this is going to be something that we're going to tend to see, you know, as we look at this. They're going to have to work on crafting that 2-year budget. Throughout the interim sessions each month, we've had lawmakers, a lot of those housing task force meet across. So I do believe that housing is going to be another big issue that lawmakers are trying to tackle, as far as SNAP benefits. Another hot topic that we saw in the past couple of years. And so those are things that we're going to likely see and hear throughout the next 60 days. Of course, we're going to be bringing you all the coverage here that you can depend on. And so we are going to be looking for that. I'm going to be keeping my eye, keeping my ear to the session. That's part of my job here at WSAZ, is I am in tune to what's happening in the Capitol, whether it be the state of West Virginia or Kentucky as well. And so I keep a close ear to both. And so we're going to be following things. Let's go ahead and talk a little bit about some other items. Of course, we talked about housing. We do expect that. Likely health care. That has always been one of Beshear's top priorities. And you may mention him or remember him hearing, and it's something that we often hear him say time and time again, is health care is every human's right. And so that is likely something we'll probably see. You have to think about, you know, we're now in Beshear's term as we're looking at that. The time for him in office is winding down. We still have a bit for him to be in office, but you're going to have to think about the priorities he's trying to push across the finish line, especially with a budget year. I do anticipate him to bring up universal pre-K again. This has been something that we have heard for the last 4 or 6 years or so, every year. Universal pre-K for all. That has been a big push for him. It's something he mentioned on the campaign trail. It's something that he's mentioned in the State of the Commonwealth address. So we're likely going to see that come up again in conversation. And I do expect us to hear tomorrow, as we know that Governor Beshear will deliver the State of the Commonwealth tomorrow. And so that is something that I anticipate us hearing as well. That we will carry here on WSAZ. We usually have it on our website platform, so you can tend to find it there. And if maybe you want to watch it We'll also have the governor's link to his press conference that he typically does on that first night of the session. It typically is the Wednesday after the session starts. So, that's something that we are expecting here tomorrow as for what happens next. And likely in that as well, we're going to probably see a little bit and hear from him more about his budget proposal. That is the main priority when it is a 2-year budget and lawmakers are worked at crafting that. That typically takes up most of the session. And so that is something that we will likely see consume a lot of committee meetings. There's a lot of eyes that have to meet that and a lot of opinions on that. And so that's likely something that will really heat up most of that session and take it up. So we are going to be following all of that for you here. I do appreciate you joining us as we give a little preview for the Kentucky legislative session. Lawmakers will gavel in here at noon. And so this is really the start of it. We always joke around here, it's not a marathon. We should say it's a marathon, not a sprint. And so this really marks the first of the 60 days. As we know, lawmakers will head back. We are likely going to see, remember, this is an election year too. So there's a lot of shaking at the top that's going to come down. And it will be an interesting session, but I do appreciate you joining me here on WSAZ News Plus. Of course, we will give you an update as soon as we have it, and keep checking in because we're going to be doing more and more sessions of this where we talk about kind of the issues, the buzz that's been at the Capitol. And so thank you so much for joining us here. I'm going to send it back to you guys, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. Thanks for joining us.